Hello, this is Mark. I'm here to make chocolate brownies. This is my first ever YouTube video. I'm doing this for my family because my kids love when I bake for them. In fact, they came up with the idea that when they were asked to come up with a school assignment on how to make brownies, their first step was ask Dad to make brownies. So I'm here to do this recipe for them. I tried it once and it was outstanding. My wife's friends at work gave the thumbs up, so I'm going to do these. They're officially called Lunch Lady Brownies, but I made a slight modification with one ingredient, so I'm able to call them Ask Dad to Make Brownies. So the first step is to get all of your ingredients ready, and which we did. We're going to melt the butter. This is 1 cup of butter, so 2 sticks. Our microwave. Our microwave actually has a setting that allows you to either melt or soften butter, so that's pretty convenient. So while that's going, we're going to get the cocoa powder ready. This is a 1/2 cup of unsweetened cocoa powder. I use Hershey's. Nestle's is probably just as good, but I had Hershey's from my last recipe, so we're using that. If you don't have a KitchenAid stand mixer, you really need to get one. These things are outstanding. They really rock your recipes. So when the butter's done, we'll add that and we'll mix that. The next 2 ingredients, which we'll go over again as the recipe continues, are 2 cups of sugar, 2 cups of flour, 4 large eggs, and 4 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And then the additional ingredient I add to these chocolate brownies are 1 cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips. So here's the butter. Add that in. Scrape the sides of your bowl so you get all of it. Set those aside. You'll stir on slow speed until everything's mixed up. Pause. Scrape down the sides of your bowl. Now, one nice accessory KitchenAid has are these beater attachments that actually have a scraper for the sides of the bowl. Over time, though, the beater tends to warp and it doesn't actually touch the side of the bowl anymore, so make sure you're using a spatula to get everything that is sticky. Okay. So now we can add the sugar and the flour. I'm going to add the sugar first. And just pulse a little bit to get the stirring started. And some people, when they start adding dry powder ingredients like flour or powdered sugar, they like to use the splash shield to keep it from coming up. I start with that. I find it gets in the way, so if you don't like that, you can certainly keep that off, but just add your dry ingredients slow. We'll start adding the flour. This is 2 cups. I don't want to keep mixing it at this point because we don't want the batter to become too stiff. So I'm going to add a little bit at a time. Until everything just starts to become incorporated. That looks good. Now we can add the wet ingredients, the 4 eggs and the vanilla. Just get them incorporated a little bit longer. Add the vanilla. When everything looks mixed well, don't forget to scrape the sides of the bowl. We'll go ahead and add the chocolate chips now. Toss it just until everything is mixed. Okay. So to bake, I've already preheated the oven to 350 degrees. I'll make sure you do that ahead of time. Just makes it easier to get the mixture into the oven as soon as it's ready. You have two options for actually baking. The original Lunch Lady Brownies recipe calls for a 13 by 9 inch baking pan, glass, lined with aluminum, and you can spray that aluminum to prevent the brownies from sticking. I prefer to use this cast iron skillet and turn these into skillet brownies. Cast iron is a great non-stick device, provided that you've greased it and treated it well, and it's been seasoned properly. So go ahead and spread that in to your pan. Make sure you get every bit. And pat it to the form. Try to get them even so you don't have big lumpy parts or shallow parts that are too close to the bottom of the pan. That looks pretty good. Bake for 25 to 30 minutes until the center is just set. We use Alexa for our timer. Alexa, set timer for 25 minutes.
25 minutes, starting now.
When they come out of the oven, we'll be right back. Okay, the timer just went off for 25 minutes. Check the brownies. A little soft yet. I'm going to let them go for another 2 minutes. Alexa, set brownie timer for 2 minutes.
Brownie timer, 2 minutes.
Okay, it's been 2 minutes. Well, they look perfect now. That's good. So we're going to let them cool for 15 minutes before we put the frosting on them. Speaking of frosting, we'll go ahead and get that ready so that in 15 minutes it's ready to spread on. So the frosting is pretty simple. It starts with a 1/4 cup or a 1/2 stick of softened butter. So this is just room temperature butter. It's pretty soft already. And a 1/4 cup of milk, but I'm not going to add the milk right away, not all of it. I'll add a little bit just to get the powdered sugar to kind of settle down as I add that. So I'll add about 1/2 of the 1/4 cup. Now for the powdered sugar, it calls for 3 cups, and you'll probably use all of it. It's a very sweet but chocolatey recipe, so I'm going to start with the powdered sugar. Add a little bit of that, start the mixer on low, and then add a 1/4 cup of cocoa powder. A little more milk. So that's my whole 1/4 cup of milk. And keep adding powdered sugar until it gets incorporated. If it looks like it's getting too thick on you, you can add a teaspoon or two of milk to thin it out. We don't want it really thick, but we don't want it really runny yet either. We're going to be putting it on warm brownies, which will help it melt again and soak into the top layer of the brownies, which keeps them extremely moist. So that actually looks pretty good. I'll show you what that looks like here. So it's a good consistency. Holds together well. It's going to be nice and spreadable on the brownies. So we'll be back in 15 minutes to put it on the brownies. Stay tuned. Okay, we're back now. The brownies are cool enough that we can frost them, but they're still warm enough that the frosting will start to get really soft and absorbed into the top part of the brownies, which is really what makes these brownies wonderful. So go ahead, get the frosting out of the bowl and onto the brownies. So if your pan's still hot, be careful not to burn yourself. It's warm enough where I can grab it. Just start to push the frosting around. Want a nice, even coating. Good layer. As it starts to warm up in the pan, it'll be easier to move around too if it thickened up too much on you. Probably could have been a little bit thinner. Just have to go a little slower. Let the heat of the brownies soften it up a little bit. There we go. Rotate the pan a little bit. Make it easier on myself. Looking good. So it's going to take over an hour for this cast iron skillet brownie version of Lunch Ladies, or the Ask Dad to Make Brownies. But you want them to be completely cool and the frosting set before you cut into them. That's it. So we will be back with you and show you the final result in about an hour and a half or two. Okay, I'm back. It's been over an hour. I did cheat a little bit to help cool down a little faster. I put the pan out in the garage where it's much cooler than in the kitchen, so we could finish the video. I'm going to cut in to the side a little bit. It smells good. One thing I like about these cast iron skillets is they're so non-stick, but this is a wonderful looking brownie. You can see that. Have to take a taste. Very good. So I hope you try these. Think of me when you're doing it, and that Dad made the brownies for you. Don't forget to subscribe below. And if you want updates on my future videos, hit the bell. Out.